Hey YouTube, Satoshi Matrix here yet again, bringing you another video. This time I wanted to talk about one of the first legally produced Famiclones. Came out in 2005 after the Nintendo Entertainment System file patents had finally expired. The system in question is the Messiah Generation NEX. Messiah is an American company that is now defunct because of bankruptcy, but this is basically their main product that they produced. The Generation NEX, obviously you can tell by looking at it, is designed directly after the original Nintendo Entertainment System model 001. Now, if you compare these two together, you'll see that the Generation NEX is significantly smaller, even though it shares the main general design. They both have this sort of front-loading mechanism, of sorts anyway, but the Generation NEX also has a Famicom port in the top, so it will play both North American NES games and Japanese Famicom games. Now, if you look at the back of the system, you'll see that it has RCA outputs. It has the composite video for yellow, and then it has mono sound for white, but it also has this red port, which is for stereo sound. The NES is actually was not a stereo system. So what happened is Messiah designed the Generation NEX to produce amplified mono, so it would get mono sound out of both channels, both speakers. So it's not really stereo, but sort of. Now it also has the power port. Obviously, the power jack is actually a 9-volt DC as opposed to the 9-volt AC of the NES. It actually runs off of a 9-volt DC center pin positive, the same as a Sega Genesis Model 2 or CDX. So if you pick up one of these systems and it doesn't have a power supply, make sure you don't power it with a Nintendo Entertainment System power supply that's AC. If you do, you will probably blow at least the voltage regulator, if not the entire motherboard. So, let's look at the system's front again. You'll see the Messiah Generation NEX logo. The NES games will go in there, all the way back there. And it has these two cartridge connector, or controller connector ports that are the NES 7-pin. What this means is the Generation NEX will use original Nintendo controllers that you might have. It also has this Wi-Fi signal, you'll see. The wireless there actually works with Messiah's own brand of wireless controllers that were designed only for this system. Now, let's take a look at the controller that it came with. This is basically the controller. The controller, as you might tell, is designed kind of after the Super Nintendo controller, with a 4-button layout and shoulder buttons and the start and select button in the middle. But what's different about this is actually you'll see that the start and select buttons are the buttons that are above the A and B. In the middle you have these turbo and slow buttons that are actually touch pads. Up top, these shoulder buttons, and they're a little weird, but you might think, what the hell are shoulder buttons doing on a Nintendo controller? But actually what these are is you have the B button and you have the A button. So we have the A button and B button on two places. It's kind of redundant, but it's kind of cool. You might want to play some games using the shoulder buttons for some reason, as opposed to using your thumb. So yeah, the D-pad on it is actually quite nice. Has this nice recessed feel. Feels kind of like a Genesis D-pad, to be honest. So yeah, let's take the system and let's plug it in and see what we got. So hang on, guys. So plug in the power. Take the RCA jacks. White into white, yellow into yellow, and red into red. Alright, so it's all plugged in. Then take the controller, plug that in. There we go. Let's turn the TV on, and let's see, what game should we start out with? Well, obviously since it has the Famicom port in the front, let's try putting in a Famicom game. So let's try Rock Band 2. So as you can see, the game goes right in, and you turn it on right here. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the performance of the system will not actually be as good as the original systems because this is just a cheap NOAC. So let's take the button and press start, which is here, not here. So, start it up. Let's go to Airman stage as usual. Now keep in mind I'm using an LCD HDTV to play this, so if you're playing on a CRT, obviously the graphics will look far better because it'll be analog to analog as opposed to analog to digital and then back to analog again. So, we have the controller. As you can see, it lights up with the Messiah logo, quite nice, with a nice bright LED. You have the fire button. You have your jump. And then you have your turbo button, so that when this works by you hold down turbo, it starts to flash, and then you let go. And that's how it works. Turbo! Ooh! Alright, so that's Rockman 2. So the controller is actually quite responsive, and I actually quite like it. It's ergonomical. One thing to say about the controller is the back of it has these bumps, so it kind of conforms to your hand, but it's really weird. It doesn't have any sort of screws anywhere, so you actually can't take the controller apart. I'd love to get my hands and look at inside this controller to see how it works, but unfortunately you can't do that without destroying it, so I guess I won't. Alright, so what was the wired controller it comes with. One of the cool things about the Generation NEX is that it also came with a bunch of wireless controllers. The system didn't come with them, but they were available, I should say. So let's take a look at one of the wireless controllers. Unplug the wired one and move on. So, dun, 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 here is the wired controller, or the wireless controller, I should say. Now, one of the things about this is it's much larger than the standard wired controller. It also has this kind of weird nub. It's kind of an analog stick, but not really. It's sort of more similar to the analog nub thing on the NES Max controller. It's not really the nub at all. What happens is it's just a D-pad that has this sort of circular thing. It works well, but it kind of leaves you with a weird impression. Okay, other than that, the difference is the start and select button are back where they should be, and the turbo buttons are above the A and B buttons. The buttons on them don't feel quite as nice as actually the wired controllers, but well, how can you complain? These work powered by 2 AAA batteries. It's got an on and off switch in the back, so let's turn it on. You can see. Oh, crap! I grabbed the wrong controllers, I guess. Oh wait, no, I didn't. Sorry. I had the controller in the off position. Okay, so let's turn it on. You can see the wireless is flashing. So take the controller again. And you can play your NES games with a wireless controller. Let's go to Bubble Man stage. There's turbo again, and slow motion. This, just turbo start button. So yeah, that's that. So obviously we'll play Famicom games. So let's try NES games and show that. This is RoboCop 3, typical NES game. So what works by you put it into the front, and there it is. That's as far as what will go in. Now, the system can work by having both a Famicom and an NES game plugged in, but I don't recommend turning it on because what will happen is you're sending the signal to 2 places at once, and for an NOAC, that's probably not a good idea for it. So don't have 2 games plugged in at the same time. So I press power. and play this awesome chiptune. And as before, press the start button. Alright, well, that works. Then to get the NES game out, you just sort of pull it out. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. I'll try. Nah, I need to put the camera down. So, let you guys see. Hold the system and pull it out. It's not nearly as bad as some YouTube reviewers will make it seem. So let's try a different game. This is Tengen Tetris. Tengen games actually work great with the NES. They just plug straight in. Label facing up, and how about that? Doesn't that look awesome? Turn it on, and there's Tengen Tetris. Now, I'm not actually going to play this, but you can see, you get the idea. Move around. Works. Works well. Pull the game out. Once again, I can't get it out with one hand. Oh, yes I can. Never mind. Let's try an unlicensed game. Awesome unlicensed game, by the way. Action 52. Ooh. Plug this in. And see if we have power. Unfortunately, this isn't working. I need to blow on it, probably. Oh, there it is.
Make your selection now.
No, I don't think we will. But, yeah. There's Action 52 running on the Generation NEX. Turn it off. Pull it out. There we go. Let's try something else. How about a homebrew game? This is Battle Kid, Fortress of Peril. Got this game from RetroZone, one of the awesome sites on the internet. Plug this in. Turn it on. And there we go. Now, one of the coolest things about the Generation NEX is, in addition to running off of its own power supply, its own RCA jacks that are just beautiful. The system looks quite nice on a CRT TV. It has the NES standard, so you can use all your old NES controllers, including the Zapper, the Zapper, the NES Advantage, or the NES 4-Score, or whatever you have. Even the Power Glove will work on this thing. Yeah, I wanted to talk about one of the coolest things about the system is this is the NES Advantage joystick that came out by Nintendo, but this is the Generation NEX joystick. Now, if you compare these two together, it's quite clear which one is superior. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is a beast. This thing is so much bigger than the system itself. You can actually fit the system inside of this controller. Now, let's look at the system. Let's look at the controller its layout. It's got the giant A and B buttons, the turbo buttons, the potentiometers that adjust the turbo speed. This full-size arcade bat-top joystick. It's also wireless, I should say. Yeah, let's see what else I can say about the system. Well, let's just turn it on and let words speak for themselves. So the power button is on the bottom. There we go. It's on. When it's on, it lights up. So let's press start. And let's turn on turbo and show you that. Try and do this one-handed. Oh, I died because I couldn't see. But yeah, this thing is absolutely awesome. It's 2.4 gigahertz technology, same as the Nintendo Wavebird wireless controller. It's powered by 4 AAA batteries that last for about 40 to 60 hours. What else can I say about it? The stick is very heavy, it's very durable. It's made of thick wood, as opposed to being made of plastic like the Generation, or like the NES Advantage. Other than that, final remarks I can say about this system here. The Generation NEX Famiclone is not actually kind of the best Famiclone that you can buy. It's kind of neat that it will play both NES games and Famicom games, but because it is just a 6502 based NOAC, one of the problems with that is that you get compatibility issues. Certain Famicom games won't run at all, such as like Range Point and Akumajo Densetsu, and certain NES games won't work at all, such as Gem Fighter or obviously Castlevania 3. Now, obviously the situation for NOACs has improved over the years. You have better systems like the Retro Duo and the Retron 3 that work better now. But you know, for the money that you could spend, you know, on the Generation NEX, you know, it's not really a great system, but the wireless controllers that are available for it kind of make it, you know, worth owning, or at least worth a look. So, especially for this wireless stick, this stick is just fantastic. I'm gonna have to mod this so this stick will run with the original hardware, because I love this thing. This thing is the best piece of the Messiah hardware. So yeah, with that, I think I'm gonna let you guys go, and yeah, if you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment, and I'll be sure to answer them. I hope I addressed everything I can think of. So if you see one of these on the cheap, pick it up, but don't go out of your way to buy one. You know, it's not really that worth it because of the compatibility issues and the NOAC issues. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, YouTube. Later.